Om Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gahana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Adilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trinarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Thank you, Swamiji, for helping me today. Okay, so today's topic is why Kailasa, right? So, do Hindus need an independent sovereign nation for Hindu nations, even though Hindus have a majority, the Hindu majority India, where it appears to be, or it is perceived to be, that the Indian constitution is friendly to Hindus and then Indian laws are friendly to Hindus, and then Indian leaders are friendly towards the Hindu causes, right? And then not only that, and we have the substantial presence in Sri Lanka, Maldives, and then Nepal, Tibet, and Singapore, Malaysia, Bali, Indonesia, all over the world, many places, even Buddhist places are there. And in addition to that, all the Western countries, we all feel that you can practice Hinduism the way you want. When that is the background, do Hindus need an independent sovereign country for Hindus? So that's the topic. And then we will follow this Uttar Paksha, Purva Paksha model, where you repeat what the other person say. Once you get an agreement from the other person, and you'll respond. Okay. And then, so another thing is, for last 200 years, or 2 to 300 years, the Westerners, especially the Europeans, started this, where they are looking at Hindus from the Western lens, from the the Western gauge, right? Western drishti, Paschima drishti, right? But now what we are going to do is we are going to reverse the gauge. That means we are going to look at Hindus from the Hindu drishti, right? We are going to look at the world from the Hindu drishti and the Hindu gauge, or the lens. And this is what, even though it's been going on in our tradition for a long time, but I learned this from Sri Raju Malhotra. He's our scholar worldwide, and is an Indologist, which is engaging the Europeans, and then of course they are continued in North America and all over the Western world now. So that is the background. Makes sense? So Gauri Bhattaya is going to engage, and then Vera Sorpaya also might pitch in, but basically that's what it is, right? It's a panel, okay? So, but mainly you both will do, and then they might pitch in. Gyan Atmaya and Vera Sorpaya can pitch in, okay. Okay, let's go. I'll be playing the role of a moderator, okay? So do we, okay, now to Deepanaya. So do Hindus need an independent sovereign nation for Hindus? If so, why?
Nithyanandamaya, pranams to Nandu. My special opinion is like we do need a sovereign nation for practicing Hinduism and for Hindus. The reason is what I believe is I want a space where I can freely practice Hinduism without thinking about other societal or national properties and rights, and I want to delegate those things to someone who is aligning with also the vision of like creating a Hindu nation. But as a normal person, I want a place where I'm having the freedom to practice whatever Hinduism prescribes by the Vedas and Agamas. The grand vision of having a nation, I think it is required because first of all, it shows the scale in which we are trying to apply to create a nation for Hinduism. We already have, but specifically targeting to create a nation. So I do think it is required. Just so that like we get all the energy spent towards like practicing Hinduism. So in this grand scale, we do need a nation for practicing Hinduism. That is my thought.
So Gauri Bhattaya, yeah, you can go.
So basically, you're saying, I'll summarize. You need a Hindu nation to practice Hinduism to the fullest extent on a grand scale. Is that the summary of your argument?
Yes. So one is like current. So looking at the current scenarios, we do have a place to practice Hinduism, but the grand scale of like a nation, I feel it is required because as a normal man, we can practice Hinduism, but um, all the nitty-gritties of like having a nation can be delegated to somebody who's aligning to practice Hinduism and are better at doing that. So yes, yeah. When I hear the word a nation, I feel like it is a big scale and like in number of people, it's a large number where you have a place to practice Hinduism authentically. So I think that is the reason.
So you're, am I clear?
I think now it's
a little bit. Yeah, now I think we can. Yeah, it was breaking up, but now we can. Okay, yeah, continue.
Okay, thank you. So what I is saying is, individually there is no problem practicing Hinduism, but if you want to practice at a grand scale to the fullest extent, you need a Hindu nation.
Yes.
Is this complete summary of yours? Did I miss out anything?
Yes, Gauri.
Okay. So that means individually you have no problem, right? I mean, you don't need a Hindu nation.
I mean, that's
it doesn't interfere with your practice of Hinduism.
I don't want to like absolutely take that. Relatively, I mean, like so it depends on like how much you want to follow Hinduism actually. So if you somebody might be happy to follow Hinduism, but in this scale, but if you want to authentically fully practice the amount of space you require to do that. So from that perspective, I'm thinking we do need a separate nation actually. So somebody might be free to practice Hinduism as per your. I hope. Somebody might be free to practice Hinduism now, but are they really practicing in the authentic way? If so, is there a need? Is there a way to practice it even more authentically? If he's not practicing authentically right now, then what is required? So in a small scale, maybe we are able to practice, but are we practicing it authentically as per the Vedas and Agamas? Do we have the space for that right now? So if we think from that perspective, I think we cannot decide like, are you happy? Yes, but we can even be more happy to practice even more authentically, responsibly, taking more responsibility. And I mean, like we need a space for growing or expanding is what I'm thinking actually. I hope I answered and I was able to consume your question and answer that properly.
So I'll summarize again. So what you're saying is you're not individually, okay, fine, you're practicing Hinduism, but people are not following authentic Hinduism, and to follow authentic Hinduism, you need a Hindu nation. Is that summary correct?
Relatively, not like I think the summary comes out to
did I miss out anything? Did I miss out anything?
No, I think so.
So actually, let me add this one. What I understood from Deepanaya, so probably you can correct it. Okay. So individually, definitely we have something where we can practice at our homes. But as a as a person, if you really see, we are not just only individuals. We are also a community. We also live in the society, right? So individually it may be fine, but whenever it is really coming to the society, whenever it is actually expanding its own horizons, it actually needs a bigger space, right? And bigger, the space to accommodate. Individually we are okay, but the thing is, whenever it is coming to the accommodating the bigger space and bigger, the way of doing, for example, processions, or when you're going to the temples or anything, things like that, that's where actually you see that the problems may come. Individually we are okay, but only thing is, whenever it is coming to the bigger the as a community, if we are going to do something, then the issues may come up. For that reason only, we may need a nation. Am I right here?
Yes, yeah. So I'm not also like just seeing from you're right. You summarized it right. Yeah, yeah. When we do scale, it brings its own maybe challenges to attend to, and it is also a necessity for us to scale. So yeah, yes, yeah. I think from that, yeah. Individually, I believe like I have the space to practice, and then when I want to seek to expand, to see people who have a similar who feel related on what I'm practicing on the community sense. Yeah, that's where I think on the scale to expand, I am thinking it moves from an individual to a small community, to a small city, to a small state, to a nation, and yeah, that's where I see why it is required actually. Yeah. Yes, yeah.
So I'm going to summarize again. What you're basically laying out 2 points, right? One is you need a Hindu nation to practice authentic Hinduism, and right now concern is that hey, most of the people don't practice authentic Hinduism. And the second point is it's a scaling problem. Individually, you can practice authentic Hinduism, but if you want to extend your practice to the community with like-minded people, and then to the city or to the state or to the country, that is where you run into problem, and that is why you need a Hindu nation.
Yes.
Okay, that's the summary of the total argument, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. That correctly puts it.
Okay, so my response to that is, to the first point, authentic practice, right? People not doing authentic practice. That I mean, all that needs is inspiring people and make sure it can be solved in two ways. One, the right kind of parenting is done. Parent to kids to make sure that you continue the tradition, right? And the problem is kids don't want to practice because parents are not able to inspire them. So it's a parenting problem. The second thing is you cannot force people to practice authentic Hinduism, right? You have to inspire. So somewhere in the Hindu community has failed in inspiring people to follow authentic Hinduism. How is a nation state going to help you? Even if you're able to use a nation state, it will be violence. How is that any different from conversion? Okay, that's my answer to the first one. And to the second point, the scaling problem, right? See, as long as you're given your freedom to practice your religion, you can organize your own community. Like if you take the case of US, ISKCON has successfully done that. They have their own, cities, right? End-to-end Hinduism. And when they go outside, they follow the Hindu practice. So they are able to create their own communities of Hinduism, right? They follow the entire morning spiritual routine, the Goshala, everything, end-to-end Hinduism. So ISKCON has already shown you how to live that, right? And they have figured out all the scaling problems. Just like ISKCON, there are many other communities who have figured out how to deal with their scaling problems. So all you have to do is just replicate them or follow them in a place, and even in India for that matter, right? There are many enclaves where the whole thing is end-to-end Hinduism. Nobody can even touch them. So why is a nation state needed here is not clear, when the problems are solved without nation state in multiple countries.
Sure, yeah. Can I maybe I'll also like summarize, and
Yes.
So after hearing to what I had to say, Gauri Bardhanandaya, so you're from what you said, there is currently freedom to practice Hinduism authentically. There is already a model which has shown to the nation, for example, ISKCON, on how to have a scalable community to practice Hinduism from like a single person to Allah. They already have deployed a working model in planet Earth. So why do we need a nation? Why can't it be okay with a ISKCON-like model? Is your argument? This is what I'm getting from that. I hope I summarized that right.
One small correction, if I may. I'm not saying you have to use ISKCON-like model. All I'm saying is ISKCON has already shown you can scale it to community. ISKCON is just one. There are hundreds of religious groups that have shown that in the Western world it is possible to build those enclaves where all your needs of practicing authentic Hinduism are met.
Yes, yeah. So your argument, if I summarize again, is we have established model. Why do you need a nation? What is the reason for a nation? Why a community already gives you everything you asked for? So why do you need a nation separately? Is your argument? Because whatever you ask for is already provided by the community. Why do you want to go for a nation? That is not clear from my previous statements. If I hope that summary captures it correctly. Yes, yeah. So just I'm understanding the words here. So we have a community, we have a nation. So obviously they are two separate things. What a nation is there to embodify and what a community embodies are obviously separate in my perspective. And a community might span many nations, but it still does not become a nation. So that is one thing. And why we would need a nation is why not a nation? Because I think from if we progress towards a life positive direction of expanding, I think from a community it starts to naturally become a nation. I think that according to me, a community is not equal to nation, and the natural progress towards expansion is becoming a nation because there is an identity that comes with the nation. For example, whenever I show a passport that shows like from which nation I am, it doesn't talk about which community I am actually. And also like there is a lot of identity a person gives to a nation because that's where he might be born, apart from the community he's currently at actually. So in the current world, it's easy to change your community, and I'm not sure if that's given enough rigidity to your identity or associating which community you're from is not too much associated to like who you are, but which nation you are from is associated to your community. It's widely accepted, represented, and so during scaling, when we want to be like accepted, nation is a good way to. I'm thinking like when you expand from a community towards a nation, and when you identify with a nation, it is also accepted currently by other nations, and that's why I think like just being a community is not enough. The next level of expansion is to go towards a nation, to identify yourself with a particular nation, because that is the current reality. Like everybody is having a passport. They are from a certain nation, and the nationality is accepted to kind of identify oneself from where they are. So I think that's why, like, I don't think the community completely captures uh, the expanding spirit. Actually, it does not completely solve, and that's why there is a difference of like the community and nation, and that's why, like, yeah. So if I summarize myself, because I have been, like having like I have already stated more than like 4 or 5 points. So I think a community is a good result of an expansion, but I think the next progress is going towards a nation. Yeah, and I don't think the community does not solve all the all the things that a nation is for. So I think in the course of expansion from one community it goes to a nation is my thought actually.
Okay, let me just summarize a few points there. Number one is, you said that number one, individually we don't have any problem there because I can practice whatever I really want at home. Second one is, whenever it is actually a little bit of more accommodation needed as a part of the community. That's what, if the country actually accommodates even as a community, that's also good. Now we are actually going to the next level where it actually identifies, it really gives you an identity. Example, the moment you really say that, okay, you're from so and so country, you're from Arab, or you're from China, or you're from, the India, you're from USA. it is not only just the country, but the complete belief systems of that country also it is inherited there. So because of that, actually, since we are actually as a Hindu, if you want to follow the Hindu complete the identity and everything, that's what you really think, that not only just as a accommodation as a community, but to have a complete identity. That is the reason we really need a country which is actually going to give you an identity, as this is the belief system you actually represent. Am I right?
Yes, yeah. It does capture many things I said actually. Yeah, and for example, yeah, I did not think from the perspective of like naming some countries actually from. For example, if you're from certain country, it carries the nationality. Yes, yeah. I think it's currently an accepted way to identify, and I think on the way to expansion, I think a nation is a necessity if somebody is going for that growth.
If I summarize, I'm going to summarize the argument. You're saying, one, it solves the identity problem, right? Where there is a clear association between the identity of the community to the nation. That is your primary argument, right? Or that is the crux of the argument. Hey, if I have a nation of my community, it solves my identity becomes very clear. Otherwise, the identity will not be very clear. Because when you show your passport or whatever, right, when people know here from so and so country, they know very clearly what your identity is, what your religious identity is.
Yeah, on the path to growth, I feel like the nation is the next step towards expanding. That's how I say. But yeah, some of the points you shared during the summary was, yeah, I think exactly aligns with what I said.
Okay, so you're saying nation is the next step, next logical step, right, for the community, and then the problem of, identification problem, or not problem, your need for identification with the nation.
Yes, yeah.
Even the community might span multiple nations, or community might be part of the nation.
True. Yeah, I think that is currently there. Actually, communities are part of nations, and towards if I think about the expansion, then I think I'm thinking like the nation is the next step towards expanding.
So I'll answer now. So if you look at ISKCON, right, when you look at ISKCON, folks, there is no confusion that they are ISKCON. They have taken care of their identity problem, right, by dressing up in a certain way, which aligns with their shastras and which aligns with their interests. So need to have a passport to show your religious identity doesn't make sense. The purpose of passport is not a religious identity, right? The purpose of your passport is it's just a travel document. Tomorrow, if we move to a situation which already people are contemplating, where you will have a global travel document, then how you won't even have a travel document. For example, if you look at UN travel documents, they look the same for every country. Even today, if you look at the passports, they're pretty much standardizing everything. The only thing that will probably change there is the name of the country. You have the same photo, you have the same, everything, the way it is ordered, everything. And if you want to add a religion into it, yes, you can petition a local government and say, hey, please add my religion to the passport. That will solve your identity problem or identity identification, right? And the second argument is logical step for a nation. You have not explained why it is a logical step and what problem is it addressing. See, if the communities anyway today span multiple countries, like ISKCON spans over multiple countries. The apps spans multiple countries, multiple continents, and they are able to run their show perfectly fine. And wherever they have a problem, they're able to deal with it, right? Any country that they have a problem, they're going and dealing with it. So what is the problem that having, one Hindu nation is going to solve? That argument I'm not seeing you make that argument.
Sure, yeah. So if I can summarize and get your approval. So still, the reasoning for why we need a nation is unclear from what I said, is what you're saying. That is your conclusion, actually. And you're offering some solutions on the reason I proposed about having an Hindu nation, because you can solve all the things you asked for using the current methods. For example, a nation, you don't need a nation. You can add religion to your passport. You're done. So what you asked is already addressed. I don't think you need a nation for that, is what you're saying. So the current models have already solved all my asks. Why do you need a nation? Is your argument? If I correctly?
Yeah. See, so far the problems that you're trying to solve with the nation is not. You don't need a nation. I've shown you alternative ways of solving it, and apart from that, you have not given me a reason for a nation, right? There is no all the things that you have asked for don't need a nation, basically. Like, it's not just adding religion to the passport. Even the way you dress up, ISKCON guys don't need a passport to tell that they are ISKCON guys, right? You look at them, you know they're ISKCON guys. So if you look at Babs guys, you know that they are Babs guys. And if you look at Lutheran people, guys, you know that they're Lutheran, right? Yeah,
okay.
That's.
If I summarize correctly, like. So the current identities is already showing who you are completely. Why do you need a nation for that? Actually, why can't you solve it with the existing ways? You are already. We are already able to. Like all these asks are already solved for us. Why do you need a separate nation? So that is unclear. Is your say? If I summarize correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
But still, I think there is a national identity currently in place. And I'm saying like there is a gap between the community alone and the national identity, obviously. So that's where I think there is a gap. So why do we need a religious nation, for example? So I still think if you want to stand amongst the nations, which particularly is aligned to one religion, Hinduism. It's not directly captured in passport, but still, like the current nations are all like having the identity inside them. The religious identity does account to, or is the reason behind lots of policies that happen in a nation, a cause of conflicts and things like that. So I'm still like, I'm sure like the community alone doesn't really capture. For example, a national policy applies to a person. If for example, a nation has 100 people and 90 people are following one religion and 10 people are following another religion, the national policy aligns to obviously like the 90 people in my example are in one religion. So I think the national policy is influenced by that number. For example, here like religion actually. So that's where I think a community of 10 people, even though they exist, they are able to practice freely. Sometimes they're not able to like influence because maybe by the numbers they are smaller. So a community of like 10 people is not able to influence on certain ways on a national scale. Sometimes the nations don't even attend to them just because the numbers are low. In this case, actually, I think the community does not even like is not able to even manifest like why they are here for. For example, a community is there for a particular reason. When they're smaller in number, like maybe they are not attended to properly. They're not able to practice some of the things. They're wanted to. So initially, I quoted about the authentic practice. So when the national policy is not enabling that, they are not able to authentically practice during course of time. It happens to change the practice for which the community is for. The identity of the community is changed. I think there is a gap there between what a community offers, what a nation offers, and And that's why I think it's not solved with the current methods. So passport was one example. Even after adding religion to the passport, I don't think it really maps anywhere to authentic practice or the space towards authentic practice. So that's where I think a community does not completely capture. For example, ISKCON, it does not completely capture what a nation can and might offer. It is a community largely practiced amongst other nations. It is not having boundary by nations, but it's still a community. It's not a nation. There is clearly some gap there. That is my thought actually. Yeah.
What you're saying is community might not capture everything. It is not about having some kind of an identifier in the passport. A nation can offer a lot more than what a community can offer. Okay, and the second argument you have made is it's a minority-majority problem. If you're a minority in a country, you might not have the space for you to, get the things, that you need. Right,
Yes.
in terms of the space for creating, for following an authentic practice.
Yes, sir.
These are the two arguments that you have made, right?
Yes, sir.
And they are complete. Did I miss out anything?
You have captured it.
Okay. So I'll start with the second one, the majority-minority problem. If you look at Nepal and India, right, they are majority Hindu countries. India was a Hindu country when it was created by British, right, in 1947. You had a Hindu India and a Muslim Pakistan, an Islamic Pakistan. Pakistan chose to continue to have their Islamic identity because the Hindus in India felt, hey, I don't need the Hindu identity, I'm happy with the secular identity. Even the British handed over them the Hindu identity. Now, if you look at Nepal, until 2007, it was a Hindu nation. And in 2007, and it is still a majority Hindu country, overwhelming majority Hindus, right? More than 80%, if I'm not wrong. Now, they felt, okay, hey, we are done with Hindu nation, we want to move to a secular nation. Now, the majority of Hindus feel they don't want a Hindu nation. So the argument that it's a majority-minority problem doesn't fly there, right? Because majority have said, hey, we don't want Hindu nation. Now, if you look at the minority problem in the West, people are able to fight and get what they want. I mean, they have built institutions perfectly well, right, in the Western world. All minorities have to do is they have to just organize and stand up, and they're even though they're minority, their rights and spaces are being respected. Like, look at how much of freedom is there to build and run your temples in US. It's much more than what you have in a Hindu majority India. Like, when you organize and stand up for your rights, you are able to get them. Question is, have the Hindus done? Like, for example, take the case of Diwali now. Different countries are now contemplating to make it a Diwali holiday and a federal holiday. So once the Hindus or any community has chosen to stand up, they are being respected, and all their rights and concerns are being fulfilled, even though they are a minuscule minority. So your majority-minority problem doesn't apply here. And the first argument that you made is sorry, can you repeat the first one, which I have summarized? I lost track. You spoke about, okay, there are a lot of things that the nation can give, right, which the community might not be able to give. You have not articulated what is it that the nation can give you. I'm saying today the idea of nation itself is becoming irrelevant, right? Because today people are no longer identifying the nations. International agendas are no longer being driven by quote unquote nations. More and more it is being offloaded from nations. Non-national entities are driving the international agenda now. It is a bunch of people from different parts of the globe who are driving the world agenda. So the burden on a nation state to drive an agenda is actually coming down. When the world is already progressing towards, away from nation state, why do you want to retrograde or retrogress back to the nation state. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Also, yeah, if I summarize, so point one is even if it's a minuscule community, currently their asks are already addressed by the current system. Is your first point summarization, if I am right? The second one is, yeah, I'm sorry, if that correctly captures actually.
Sorry, I'm just showing the majority minority problem that you have articulated earlier is irrelevant. Because minuscule minorities are also able to get their rights fulfilled. And majority doesn't seem to, care about their majority rights. So which means you have become a collection of minorities everywhere. I'm just saying the majority minority argument has become irrelevant.
Okay. Yeah, if I summarize.
I hope that is clear what I have said.
Yes, yes. Yeah, this is my first time participating. So is it like a dialogue or does Nitya Veda Swarupa Ananda?
Yeah, it's a dialogue only. Or is a thing, right? See, what you are basically what we are doing. We are arguing, articulating, and asking for the public support, non-Sangha support for Kailas. Why Kailas? And then the non-Sangha, even though Gauri Bhattaya is a Sangha member, and he is talking how when you approach a non-Sangha person, how they will ask you questions. Right? So once you have now this is been live broadcast. So when the non-Sangha people see, then they will understand why we did, and then we'll get the support of them for Kailas. Does it make sense? So basically, we are answering non-Sangha questions through our internal debate, which is like live broadcast to the public, so that it will be enriching them. So the non-Sangha is being enriched their questions, right? We're asking their questions and we're answering. So one person is asking as a non-Sangha member, and one person is you as a Sangha member answering because you are one of the most important person. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure when non-Sangha is right. Sometimes a non-Sangha Hindu. There are a lot of Hindus, and non-Sangha could be, non-Hindus also could be there, right? All we are doing is we are reaching out to non-Sangha Hindus or we are basically non-Sangha Hindus, and could be anybody, and could be non-Hindus also, and saying, hey, we want Kailasa. This is for this reason. Okay. And we are appealing to you. One is support us whichever way makes sense to you. Either you can support us morally, you can become a Sangha member, like become a subscriber to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and then you can give us money, time, talent, treasure. You can contribute in whichever way possible as a good world citizen. That's the goal. Makes sense? So that's it. Then you are articulating, you are ferociously and articulating, saying, why Kailas? And a non-Sangha member, even though he's a Sangha member, but then asking on their behalf. Makes sense? Sure. Eventually, we'll bring non-Sangha members, but then we are answering in the form of two Sangha members are talking, one was in favor of Sangha. The other person will be, because they have no clue why Kailas. If you talk to, probably you would have talked to your parents, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, and your relatives, friends, neighbors, anybody you speak a non-Sangha, hey, why Kailasa, man? Everything seems to be okay. Everything seems to be hunky-dory. That's what it is. Does it make sense, Ayya?
Sure, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
To make a simple point, what Bhagwan Reddy is telling, it is what we are doing is Khandana Mandana. So in the proper word, Khandana Mandana means, you make one point, and the other person is going to challenge you, or they are going to actually force you to think more deeper. Okay. It actually enriches both the sides.
Okay.
While asking the question, the other person is also going to keep on thinking about how they are going to counter back. At the same time, we are also going to keep on defending our stand.
Okay.
So it actually See, in the argument, what happens is one person really wanted to push only their side of it. But in the Khandana Mandana, this is the process in which both sides will be enriched. So this is the process of Khandana Mandana.
Sure.
So, okay. So not pushing, not making one person, pushing a person into the corner, but actually making them to think deeper so that they can come out with, deeper and deeper understandings and the proper.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I understood. And the reason I asked was like sometimes when we talk, it goes on a long dialogue. So that's why I felt like I want to include. And that's the reason I asked. I hope.
Don't worry about that. People get included.
Sure.
No, it is nothing to do with that. It's up to them. They want to jump in or not. So whoever is talking will engage. That is, everybody jumping is fine. Let's say yesterday we debated 39 people. Just one person, Gauri Bhattaya, at the same time engage 39 people, right? Or just 2 people, 3 people. It's up to them. If we don't force anybody to, they can participate or they can be an audience. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, continue.
So Gauri Bhattaya, Nandaya. So if I summarize, sorry, I lost the train of thought actually. So it is.
So you want me to repeat?
Yes, the conclusions actually. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one that I mentioned was the majority-minority problem, right? It doesn't exist anymore. Like there might be minor inconveniences, but the majority-minority doesn't exist because the rule of law is fairly well established, right? Even the process of formation of law, the concerns of minorities are already being well included. So now we have international forums, and everything, which tackle these problems and are able to effectively solve them. And even the Hindu majority nations, right? And they were Hindu nations. They felt, hey, we don't, in today's day and age, we don't need to be a Hindu nation. A secular nation is capable of solving all our problems. Even as late as 2007, Nepal felt it in the same way. And the other one was full scope of nation, right? The idea of nation itself is becoming irrelevant now, because now global understanding scenarios, politics are being driven more and more by non-nation state entities. So you have a lot of different NGOs, different specialist organizations, different other organizations, advocacy organizations who are driving the global dialogue and agenda. So earlier it was the exclusive domain of nation state. Today, that exclusive domain of nation state is shrinking rapidly. In fact, if you look at the last 10 years, all the policy decisions, the thinking has come beyond the nation states. They have not come from nation states. Nation states have become followers. They are no longer the leaders in this space, as far as the international agenda is concerned. Yeah, these are the 2 points.
Sure. So if I understand correctly, so people want to move out of the concept of nations. Actually, they are no longer identifying themselves with nations, and there are only like minuscule inconveniences, but not really like the current issues are already handled well with the current setup. Is your argument, if I capture it correctly?
Yes, and not just that, they're moving in the right direction. Wherever the trend is very clear. Trend of making nation state redundant is very clear.
So the question is, when the world trend is actually moving towards accommodating more and more accommodating all the individuals and every sampradayas, everything together, then why do we need a nation separately? When the actual nations itself is, that idea itself is getting dismantled right now. It is becoming as a global. So in that time, why do we need to go back and we need to fight, or we really need to have a agenda of having a nation for the Hindus?
Okay, yeah. So if I can summarize, so still like we are not seeing a reason for a nation is the conclusion, because like the current model already addresses these things, and we are moving towards the current train of moving towards like one nation is already like manifesting. Why do we need a nation now? And the community, from what I asked for, is already solving it. So why do we need a nation is your thought, if I summarize and capture correctly.
So actually, let me just put my view about why the nation is needed. Okay, from this point of view. Okay, is number one is definitely I said that if though the world is actually moving towards the overall the what's that the accommodating everything, but still it really doesn't solve all the problems which the world is actually going through. Okay, for that, from the ages together, it is only one sampradaya which actually gave the solutions to all the world problems the world is actually facing right now. Is Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Okay, to make even those things, those ideas to implement and showing in a very small scale, even to a small scale. First thing is we need some place where we have a complete autonomous, what's that, the freedom. Okay. If that can be given, I say that, even I completely agree with Gauri Bharathananda saying that, okay, we don't need any nation. What we really look is, we really are looking for the place where you are completely given as a completely freedom so that you can actually practice and you can actually implement what are the things which are more relevant to the whole world. Because Hinduism never thought only about certain kind of people. It never thought only for certain, the communities only. They always thought about the whole world. Whatever they really created, whatever they researched and everything, immediately they really just made it, they didn't even copyright anything. They actually made it freely to, available for the whole world to continue. For this science laboratory to continue, I really say that, I'm talking about, I don't have the proper word, but if I really say that the Hinduism or, a place where these practices need to be done, it is a incubator, like, it's a laboratory where all the life sciences can be practiced and they can be, put into the practice where the whole world can practice it there later. For that reason, a place is needed which is completely independent, which is completely, free from any other restrictions out there. For that reason only, that nation is needed.
Okay, if I summarize, so to
Okay,
practice.
so now I want to say who is on for Kailas and who is non-Sangha, who is playing that song. I want to make sure that we are. So, Vesurabaya, are you,
Right.
are you on in favor of Kailas, right? You're talking, yeah. Okay.
Right.
So you and Deepan are on the same side, and then Gauri Bhatta is speaking like a non-Sangha, correct?
Right.
Okay. Continue.
Okay. So I'll respond to that, or unless Deepan I want to start something else.
No. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so what Veda Surabaya is asking for is a safe space for running a Hindu laboratory. Okay, so if you look at the past, Orwell, or even if you look at ISKCON in US, they did this successfully, right? They ran a very successful laboratory before they scaled out. Now, Orwell is still continuing to run as a laboratory where there's, and not just that, even other traditions are able to run their laboratories in different parts of the world. So, and all this is done without asking for a nation state or without a nation state.
They are able to do it. So you're saying that okay, when they are able to do completely, then why we really need another nation just only for this, right? Okay. Yes, as I said that as a community, even if I really say that the ISKCON or any other bigger communities which really made there, as a society, they really made it as a success for sure. Because they really lived as a society, they created a model which is actually the society model. That is really nice. But to a bigger, to address the bigger problems of the world, now we really say that okay, our own issues and the community issues, they are resolved right now. But if you are thinking about the whole world, example, the global warming itself. Okay. When you are talking about the global warming, you really need to know, and you need to make sure that how this global warming can be addressed. And even if we really say right now, where actually the biggest amount is spent, it is on the healthcare. Okay. In the healthcare, currently what is happening is one side of the, the research and everything is going on, but is it actually helping the whole world, or is it actually pushing to the other side of it? If you ask anybody, they really say that, yeah, it is actually, it's okay. But at the same time, majority of the people will say that, no, it's actually not going in the right direction. It is actually giving you the bandit solutions right now. It is not actually resolving the problem of the health itself, right? Whereas if you see as a overall the country or the society, how actually the Hindus lived, they not only lived, they also told the people how they actually can practice and make all these things keep their health very positive. It is not just only doing the exercise, which actually doesn't make anything completely. It is overall holistic, the living. So if you want to do that kind of effect in the, not only for the society but for the whole global, you definitely need that kind of a completely free space. Even though ISKCON is doing it right now, still they have to work under the law of the land, whichever is there. They really cannot do something which is, if they really want to do something bigger than that, it definitely is going to restrict them. I know, even if you really ask the deeper, the people who are already involved in that one, they really say that, yes, based on our circumstances, we are able to expand only up to this. But if you give me the freedom, we know how to expand it more. And this expansion is actually happening for more betterment of the society. See, now we are actually talking about the nations. The idea of the nation actually came for dominating, but never the idea of the nation never came to add something to the society, add something to the globe. It never came till now. If you really see that one, that only one thing which is there existing before also, it is only the Hindu nations idea. Right now, if you see in the globally, there is no country. It is, all the Hindu countries are gone. That need to be revived. For that sake, to make the world as a completely livable, this country is needed, which actually can, inspire or, can become the guide to the whole world later. For that reason. Oh, you are muted.
Sorry about that. So I'm going to summarize. So what you have said is, you need a place where you can run these experiments, and what ISKCON has done is limited, and they have not done it because they feel that they are not they don't have the freedom to do it. Okay, and the idea of creating a nation for the sake of contribution has not existed in the world, and this is something that new is happening. So you need a new nation state to do this. Okay, so my response is, the ISKCON has continued to expand, right? As and when they are able to expand, they don't seem to be having real problems. The only problem they have is attracting followers to their lifestyle. If you look at other traditions of Hinduism, they're expanding well because their lifestyle is probably easier to follow. With ISKCON, oh my God, who's going to get up at 3:30 in the morning every day? Right? So probably it's not meant for everyone. But within the whole community, they're expanding every year, every day. Nothing stops them. If they have some problem locally, they're able to resolve it. In US, nothing stops them from expanding. In fact, the whole Hindu community relies on them for their services. Right? So that argument that ISKCON doesn't have the freedom, I don't buy it because I haven't seen it happen anywhere. You have failed to mention any specifics where ISKCON is feeling that they are not able to do certain things. Now, if you look at the idea of contributing nations, there are if you look at US is the largest of such example, right? Contributing nation. The whole idea was, hey, we will give a safe space for all the religious freedom. That was the contributing idea of US. And by and large, they've done a very good job, right? I mean, they are as the idea is still intact. As they're going forward, they're able to, whenever they hit a resistance, they're continuing to expand towards that direction. Okay. So there have been a lot of nations which was built on the idea of contributing, something phenomenal to the global. So it is not an exclusive domain of Indonesia. And this other thing that you mentioned was about the health, right? Nothing stops you from living the life, from a health point of view, the way you want. Again, the example of ISKCON, guys. Even if you look at other Christian communities, they follow certain health practices which are against the national policy, but they're able to get their free space very easily. And the US has been accommodating that. In fact, even if you look at COVID, this is probably one of the few countries in the world where as a community, you're not forced to take up vaccines. There might be pressure, but there is no force from law. They're not even to make even doctors take COVID vaccine. Nurses. See, when certain group of people want to push something, yes, they might do it when it is not well adjusted for. But moment there's a pushback, this country is always respected that. So what is the real problem? You have not really articulated which a nation state can solve. So far, the things that you have addressed, you don't need a nation state.
Okay. So to summarize, you're saying that if we take specifically United States, so since it is already accommodating all the, it's already accommodating all the different the faiths and their own ideas to grow, and it is giving that much of freedom. Okay. So we really don't need any new nation, but only thing is itself is enough. That's what you're saying, right? Okay. I'm really talking.
Sorry. So to add one point from a previous argument which we settled was any problems that you are facing, you just need to organize into an advocacy group and solve it. I'm not saying you don't have problems. All I'm saying is the problems that you have, you don't need a nation state.
I'm coming to that. Okay. So here actually, whenever there is, you have multiple, so many different kind of, the belief systems and, the people who really are following everything. Okay. When it really comes there, in the democracy, what exactly happens is whoever has the biggest voice, they'll be heard, right? In a other language, you really call it as lobby. Okay. In order to make your voice heard, or you really wanted to put your point properly, you need to lobby yourself so that your point can be taken care, and the constitution can be amended according to your own thing. That much of freedom is completely there for the in the US. That is very well, it is very much respected, because if you really think that you have a genuine problem and that is not addressed, only one thing you really can do is you lobby yourself. You make your voice heard in a bigger level, where the constitution can be changed according to whatever the needs which are there. Okay. At this moment, if you're really saying that, okay, we really don't need to make, if you're thinking only about the United States, instead of having a nation, they're saying that we may need a bigger Hindu lobby, which is going to keep on changing the constitution according to our own needs and everything. That can be one of the solutions, whatever you're really talking about. But if you really, for each and everything, if you really have to keep on doing that one, okay, is it a good idea? Or is it a good idea to have a small place which is completely autonomous, where you really don't see. For example, if you are a scientist, think about this. If you really keep on giving the answers to the to the management or anybody constantly, will you be able to focus on your own research? I don't think. If you really are in the research domain and you really have to constantly keep on answering back to the marketing, sales, management, and all the stuff, all of a sudden we say that forget about all these things. I'm not even interested in it. I'm talking Hinduism only from that kind of the life sciences point of view. To have the life sciences to grow properly, they need to be free from all such kind of unnecessary distractions. One of the resolution is whatever you really said, at least only that is only available to United States, to my knowledge. Okay, in all other countries, I don't have that much of the authority to talk about it. But at least the United States, yes, if you really lobby properly and you really you can make your voice heard, you can make actually changes according to your needs. But still, I see that it has one of the distractions to the main society, so that they have to put so much of focus only on lobbying only, not doing their own actual work. If that can be taken out, how much of the focus they really can do? And at this moment of the time in this time of the world, definitely we need something which is globally. We need to have a lot of solutions for the world problems. It is not only just for the individual problems, for the world problems. For that, this kind of research is really needed. For that, only that country, completely independent of all the such kind of distractions, is going to resolve the problem. That is why a nation is needed.
What you're advocating, if I'm going to summarize correctly, you are seeing you have an efficiency problem. You don't want to put an energy in marketing, but instead you want to put an energy in research. Because you don't want to put an energy in marketing, you want a country.
So, okay. You're saying that, okay, since we really don't want to push anything towards the marketing or towards this one, that's why we want to have a separation. That exactly when I really talked about this one, right, that accommodating a researcher, right? If you have to make at this moment, if I really say that in the Hinduism, we really need to have a place and the environment where you can actually practice and you can actually make these life sciences applicable to the common life, where they can actually see the fruits of it. Okay, for that reason, which side it's a choice right now. Do I need to put at this moment what is happening? 60 to 70% of all of our time is going only in defending ourselves, are putting our voice out there, though it is not that much strong. And the rest of 40%, even though because of these distractions, we're not able to focus on it. So if we see, one thing only I really see from the time-tested methods. In the time-tested methods from the ancient, the Hindu, the countries in India, if you really see how the countries were there, it is actually the Gurukuls and the Rajagurus were given a complete autonomous state. They are not in the they really, though they are living in the country, but they are not bound by the country at all. That is the system which is existing. Here, we really wanted the same kind of thing. If somebody, for example, if a Gurukul is there, and if any person who's actually running that kind of ashrama, the Gurukul, let them be autonomous. And in the modern terms, which we are really talking as country. Because in this moment, we really cannot make the countries or the leaders to accommodate this. If they're really ready to accommodate this thing, that's it, problem solved. I don't need any country, I'm telling you. I completely agree with you. But tell me, is United States ready to do it? Or any country which is there in the world which is ready to do it? If there is that, I'm telling you, Hindus, we don't need any country. What we need is just give autonomous, the complete powers wherever there is something called as a Gurukul, or there is something called as a community where actually they are teaching these life sciences. That's the only requirement, I'm telling you. If that is fulfilled, I don't need any country. My question back to you, Gauri Vardhananda, tell me, is there any one country, including the United States, are they ready to do that? If they are ready to do that one, I don't need any country. If they're not ready to do that, for that reason only we're saying that we need separate country or we need separate place where these things can be accommodated. Okay, back to you.
Okay, so if I have to summarize, what you're saying is you don't want to put energy in marketing. That is why you need Indonesia. You want a Gurukul which is autonomous, independent of restrictions from the state or independent of state influence. That is why you need a Indonesia.
That's correct. So precisely, now, that's correct.
If you take a look at ISKCON again, they are running their own Gurukuls and there is no interference from the state. And not only that, if you run your own Gurukul, the US government actually gives you money to feed your own children during the lunchtime. It is going, it's not just freedom, it is actually giving you support to run your own Gurukul, financial support.
It's not just the financial support or anything. When we are,
I'm saying it gives, just let me reiterate these 2 points. It gives you complete autonomy to run your own Gurukul the way you see fit. And it doesn't, not only that, it also gives you financial support to run your own Gurukul. The only condition is you cannot charge students money. As long as the students are not paying any fees, the government will support you. If you charge them, yes, then the government will not support you. It gives the same flexibility to all religious schools in US. As long as the religious school is free of cost, for the student, the government will pay for their midday meal. What you serve in the meal is your freedom. What you teach in the school is your freedom. Yes, sir. If you already have a Gurukul where you can teach what you want to teach, you can not only teach, you're able to support also. Government also supports. So why do you need a Indonesian here? And to add the third argument from my side, Hindus in 2007 decided, hey, we don't need a Hindu nation. Secular nation is enough to solve our problems. In Nepal, India decided in 1947, hey, we don't need a Hindu nation. Secular nation is enough to solve our problems. Yeah, that's the end of my argument.
Okay, so I'm not that much aware of the autonomicity of the the school system in USA. Probably I just need to know more about that one. But if that is there, probably I just need to study more to see that how much actually it can accommodate. What are the other things which really cannot accommodate? Based on that one only, I can talk more. But at this moment, I don't have any other point.
Thank you. So one thing I wanted to share is, for example, I still feel like, a community's expansion is not completely solved by a nation, actually. And that's why I think, I think a nation does have its, on the way towards expansion, a nation does have its resources, policies, the current setup in which, so we are moving towards one nation for Earth, but I don't think it's there yet. On that path towards expansion, towards expanding. For example, like I'll also use the words from what Nithya Veda Swarupa Anandaya used towards autonomy. I don't think we have reached there yet. And the resources that are identified with the nation are enabling towards that expansion. So I think, still I think it's not completely solved. Actually, we do have some one or two solutions, one or two implementations, but if that's the right way, it should have been adopted by everybody. So that is not done. Yes, yeah. So that's where I want to conclude there actually.
So I'm going to summarize. So what you're saying is we are in the right direction, but we have not solved our problem.
We have, for example, the examples of certain models which have been successful. If that is the right way, it should have been adopted, or it should have been the way. I think there is still like maybe their expansion stopped at the community level. For example, like ISKCON. When the necessities are even more, or like when the direction is even more, I think the nation is like the way to expand actually, and I don't think community completely captures those things.
Okay, so what you're saying is communities cannot capture, and we are making two things. One, we are in the right direction, but we have not solved all the problems. The second thing is community cannot capture the whole thing.
Yes,
these are the two primary. So when the community expands, when you have those problems and the world is anyway in the right direction, you will end up solving that problem, right? All you have to do is focus on expansion. You yourself are negating the argument for a nation state, right? Your argument actually proves that we don't need a nation state. All you have to do is continue to expand. When the problems come, we can solve it. All ISKCON has to do is continue to expand. Right now, they have reached to a point of a city. Continue to expand. As more and more problems come, they'll solve it. They started off with what? One house, one building. They're expanding. All you have to do is focus on expansion. That is all you need to do. Get more and more people to follow your religion. That is all you need to follow your tradition. World is willing to accommodate anyway. The global order itself has said, hey, the nation state is an outdated model. You have to start focusing on individuals and individual communities.
Still, I think like like the existing communities have not, like all the problems are not yet solved. For example, like on towards expansion, I think like there is a point where when we achieve that scale, like, and it is required to have a nation for its voice to be heard in that scale. When it's like all the problems we discussed so far, some of the words we used are like minuscule. So when that, like when we talk about like problems of the minuscule thing, we are obviously like seeing that their voices are heard, but it might not be solved in the way they want, or sometimes like there are compromises just coming from the numbers perspective. And I think that like that's where like the nation does add some rigidity, even though the minusculeness might be there. When they become a nation, like like it certifies that the problem is not minuscule anymore, actually. So that's where that's where I think like there might be solutions, but like going towards a nation does have its own the identity is like largely accepted. When, for example, like USA does allow gurukuls to run, as you said, but but still, like USA is a good implemented model, but still on the scale, like everywhere, thinking about gurukuls everywhere, I'm not sure like USA has reached that scale to solve. So that's where I do see some gaps, and and the reason towards like a nation actually.
Okay, so basically what you're see, if a person wants to study in Gurukul in US, he can. Nothing in the law stops the person from doing that. The question is, has the community, do the individuals want to study in a Gurukul? That is the only thing. It's the demand problem. It's not a supply problem. Okay, I think we can end here. My moderator.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So now you wanted to summarize the whole thing, right? Just how you want. So what was their thing and what was your thing? So you wanted to summarize the Gauri Bataya.
Okay. So I'll summarize both the sides, right? On the pro side, the arguments that were made were, hey, the problems that you have at the community level will not happen. I mean, will be different at which are solved, but the problems at the scaling problem, right? When you scale to a nation, that problem is not solved. The other argument that was made was, say, we are spending too much of time on advocacy, right? The marketing, rather than focusing on generating the life sciences or the science aspect of it. The third argument that was made was there is an autonomy given to the Gurukuls. These are broadly then there is a fourth argument, which is majority minority problem, right? Hey, minorities will not be able to influence the policymakers because they're in minority. These are the four arguments that were made. Did I miss out anything?
I think no, yeah, captured it.
Okay. So on the anti side or the con side, all the four questions were addressed, and none of those 4 points require a nation state, because the world anyway is moving in the direction of addressing all those problems, and many countries have already addressed those problems. Like in the case of Gurukul, US not only gives the freedom to run your own Gurukul, but also supplements it by paying for your food, right? And then the majority minority problem in Western democracies and in the United Nations and all is not a problem, because everybody is so focused on minority rights that minorities are getting the rights. All they need to do is organize and advocate. The other one, having, spending time in advocacy and not enough time on research, that problem is, the response to that is, you need to spend time. You might have the solution, but if you're not willing to spend time on advocating for that solution, the solution will go nowhere. And the first one, the scaling problem, right? So right now there is no need, right? All the size of the groups are at the community level. As you're scaling bigger and bigger, people are able to solve problems. Like case in point, ISKCON was once less than a community. It was probably a bunch of individuals. They came together, formed a community. While forming the community, had the problems they had resolved, and they created it. Now all they have to do is focus on scaling, because the problems are getting solved as they are scaling. See, the response to that is, you are imagining the problem for when there is no demand for that solution.
Okay. So that summarizes the whole side, both sides. Okay, super. So now let me close this session with the Purna Mantra, right? Then we'll continue the next one. Okay, 1 second. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvamastu. Om Nithyanandam. Thank you, Swamiji, for helping us.